Hey man, there comes a moment with a woman where everything shifts, and it doesn't announce itself with grand gestures or dramatic words. It slips in quietly, like a change in the weather that you only notice when the wind touches your skin. One day she's guarded, composed, reading you like a book she isn't sure she wants to commit to, and then something happens inside her that she didn't plan. She starts reacting to you instead of evaluating you. Her laugh becomes real, not polite. Her eyes stay on you a little longer. Not because she's trying to signal anything, but because she forgets to look away. There's no strategy in the way she interacts with you anymore. No calculation, no filtering. It feels like she stopped performing and finally allowed herself to just be around you. That shift, that ease, is when you know you've already stepped into a place in her mind she doesn't let many men enter. What gives her away even more is how her energy softens around you without her realizing it. A woman who doesn't feel anything keeps a tight grip on herself, her expressions, her body language, her responses. But when she starts to feel something real, her entire presence changes tone. It's not something she forces, it's something her subconscious decides for her. Her voice loses that sharpness she uses with people she doesn't fully trust. Her shoulders aren't as high. Her breathing slows when she's near you. Because being around you doesn't activate her defenses, it quiets them. She isn't surrendering her power, she's allowing herself to relax, because something about you feels familiar in a way she can't rationalize yet. That softness is not weakness, it is emotional recognition, it is comfort revealing itself before she's ready to admit she wants you. You can sense it even more clearly in the moments when she forgets to hide her curiosity about you. She doesn't interrogate you like a stranger anymore. Instead, she listens in a way that comes from genuine interest. Not the fake enthusiasm women use when they're trying to appear nice, but the deeper kind that emerges when someone is becoming a meaningful presence in her life. Her questions change. She's no longer gathering facts, she's trying to understand your inner world, and as she listens, she reveals pieces of herself she normally protects. She mentions memories she rarely talks about. She lets small truths slip out about her fears, her desires, the things that shaped her. She isn't oversharing. She's letting you into the parts of her identity that don't show up in casual conversation. Women don't do that with men. They see as temporary. They only do it when something inside them already knows you matter. What happens next is even more revealing, because it isn't loud or dramatic. It's almost invisible. She starts responding emotionally to your distance, even when she tries not to. If you take a little longer to reply, she notices. If your tone changes, she feels it immediately. If you pull back even slightly, she senses that space not as indifference, but as a shift. She wants to understand. She may not show it openly, but inside her mind, you've already taken a place significant enough to affect her emotional state. This is where most men misunderstand women. They assume affection is expressed through constant words or dramatic gestures, but for a woman, the strongest emotional cues are hidden in how she reacts when you're not giving her your full attention. The man who means nothing leaves no echo. The man who means something creates a silence she can't ignore, and eventually, without announcing it, she begins weaving you into the small, quiet corners of her day. Not into fantasies of marriage or long-term plans. That's not how emotional investment starts. It begins with little moments. She hears a song and thinks you'd appreciate it. She experiences something funny and imagines telling you. She catches herself wondering how you'd respond to something that happened at work. These are not deliberate thoughts. They are automatic. They come from a place where you've already become a reference point in her mind. Not because she's obsessed, not because she's planning anything serious, but because you've become emotionally relevant. She is no longer imagining a life where you appear. Her instincts are already living in a world where you exist, and she doesn't even notice she's doing it. But you will, if you pay close enough attention. You'll notice something else in the way she looks at you when she doesn't think you're paying attention. There's a quiet intensity in her eyes, not the type that tries to seduce or manipulate, but the kind that appears when her mind is studying the pieces of you she hasn't fully figured out yet. She watches the way you move, the way you react to people, the way your face shifts when you're thinking. She pays attention to details you never thought anyone noticed. A woman only observes a man this carefully when she's drawn to something deeper than appearance or charm. She's not analyzing you to find flaws. She's trying to understand the source of the calmness she feels around you. And in that subtle, lingering stare, she exposes her growing attachment long before she says a word. Even her attitude toward time changes when she starts investing emotionally. At first, moments with you may have felt casual, spontaneous, easy to brush off. but now she starts valuing them in a way she doesn't voice. She becomes more present when she's with you, less distracted, more anchored in the moment. She leans into conversations rather than drifting through them. She engages with your thoughts instead of just hearing your words. She stays longer than she planned, not because she's trying to impress you, but because she genuinely doesn't want the moment to end. Time behaves differently for her now. It stretches when she's with you and contracts when she's away from you. And this shift is something she never intends to reveal, yet it's one of the clearest emotional signals a woman gives when she's already yours. Then comes the moment she starts adjusting her world around your presence without consciously deciding to. She rearranges her schedule a little, makes room for the possibility of seeing you, keeps certain days lighter without admitting why. She might say she's free whenever, but the truth is she's already shifted pieces of her life to fit you into it seamlessly. It's never about desperation, it's about excitement, anticipation, and emotional priority. Her life was moving in a straight line, and suddenly, without warning, she creates space for a different direction. She doesn't announce it, she doesn't even realize she's doing it, but a woman doesn't reconfigure her time for a man she doesn't feel deeply drawn to. And slowly, the way she communicates with you begins to carry a familiarity that wasn't there before. Not just in the frequency, but in the tone, how she speaks to you as if she already knows you will understand her. She lets go of the polished version of herself she used to present in the beginning. She becomes more honest, more spontaneous, less filtered. She teases you in ways she wouldn't dare with someone she doesn't trust. She shares opinions she would normally downplay. She expresses emotions without worrying if she'll be misunderstood. She speaks to you the way she speaks to people she actually cares about. And that effortless comfort is something she only develops with a man who has already created a space she feels safe entering. But the clearest transformation unfolds in how she responds to your emotional state. When she doesn't care, she keeps a distance, detached, polite, unbothered. But when she begins to see you as someone who matters, she becomes unusually sensitive to the shifts in your mood. A slight change in your tone makes her pause. A subtle quietness makes her wonder if something is wrong. She picks up on things even you don't verbalize, because her attention is no longer casual, it's instinctive. She doesn't want to lose the emotional connection forming between you, so she becomes more attuned to the rhythm of your presence. This sensitivity is not weakness, it's investment. It's her emotional world adjusting to yours, and once that happens, you're already deeper inside her heart than she intended you to be. There's also a moment where her confidence around you shifts in a way that feels almost contradictory. On one hand, she becomes more playful, more expressive, more open. On the other hand, she becomes a little more unsure of herself. Not because she lacks confidence, but because your presence now matters enough to make her careful. She thinks before she speaks, not in a guarded way, but in a way that reveals she doesn't want to say something that breaks the connection she feels forming. She watches your reactions more closely, not out of insecurity, but because she wants to understand what resonates with you. That inner balancing act, boldness, mixed with vulnerability, is something women only experience when their feelings have already taken root. You're no longer just a man she's talking to. You've become someone whose opinion quietly shapes her behavior. You'll notice her emotional rhythm syncing with yours, even in the small moments. If you're relaxed, she becomes softer. If you're thoughtful, she becomes reflective. If you're amused, she lights up faster than she usually would. It's not imitation, it's alignment. Her nervous system is responding to yours in real time, something she has no conscious control over. A woman can only mirror a man's emotional state when he has already influenced her on a deeper level. She isn't adapting because she wants to win you. She's adapting because your presence feels like something she wants to stay connected to. And this alignment, subtle as it is, marks the beginning of attachment, long before either of you uses that word out loud. Eventually, you'll feel the moment when her emotional defenses crumble without warning. She doesn't announce it, she doesn't plan it, and she doesn't even realize when it happens. She just stops holding herself at a distance. The conversations become slower, deeper, more meaningful. She no longer treats you like an option she's evaluating. She treats you like a reality she's entering. She listens to you with an emotional openness that shows she's no longer afraid of being seen. She doesn't hide her reactions, she doesn't camouflage her excitement, she doesn't pretend to be unaffected. This is the moment when she has already given you an emotional doorway into her world, and the most powerful part is, she does it without knowing she has. There's something else that emerges around this time. She begins revealing her flaws instead of concealing them. A woman who isn't invested will always show you her best version, polished, confident, controlled, but when her feelings grow, she starts letting her imperfections show, not deliberately, but naturally. She tells you about her insecurities. She admits the things she struggles with. She opens up about her doubts and mistakes. She lets you see her humanity because emotionally, she has already placed you in a position where she wants to be understood rather than admired. This shift is massive. It means she no longer fears losing your interest. She only fears losing the connection, and perhaps the deepest reveal comes from how she reacts when she senses distance from you, even subtle, unintentional distance. Her mind starts to wonder if something changed. She replays recent interactions. She questions whether she misunderstood something. She becomes more intentional in her responses, not to appear eager, but because she doesn't want the growing bond to fade. She isn't chasing you. She's holding on to the emotional thread that's already tied her to you. When a woman begins to fear losing something that hasn't even been defined yet, it means her heart has ventured farther than her logic approves. She won't say it, she won't show it directly, but her emotional sensitivity becomes undeniable, and that sensitivity tells you more than her words ever will. As things deepen, you begin to notice a shift in how she brings you into her daily life, not through grand gestures, but through quiet integration. She starts involving you in the small moments, the insignificant details, the fragments of her day that she wouldn't bother sharing with anyone else. She sends you things that reminded her of you, talks about something she experienced as if your reaction completes the story, includes you in thoughts that didn't originally require your presence. This isn't about trying to impress you or win you, it's about the natural human instinct to share life with someone who matters. You've become a mental companion in moments when you're not even there. And what she doesn't realize is that this is the earliest stage of emotional bonding, the stage where you become a part of her internal world, long before you become a part of her external one. Her emotional pace also starts to shift. She slows down around you in ways she doesn't with others. She listens more fully, laughs more genuinely, and absorbs your presence rather than rushing through it. There's a stillness. She only shows you a kind of quietness that comes from feeling understood, valued, and safe. Women don't grant this kind of stillness casually. When she stops performing and simply exists in your presence, it means her nervous system trusts you. She may not articulate this trust. She may not consciously know why she feels so comfortable, but emotionally, she has already surrendered a part of her guard. You become the place she can breathe. And once a woman breathes differently around you, the connection is already deeper than she'll admit. Something else changes too, the way she reacts to your growth. In the beginning, she might have admired your ambition or your confidence, but now, she feels emotionally invested in your evolution. When you talk about your goals, she listens with a sense of involvement. When you mention challenges, she feels them more deeply. She begins supporting your vision, not as an outsider watching from a distance, but as someone who sees herself walking beside you. She imagines where you're going and wonders whether she fits into that future. She becomes proud of your progress, more affected by your setbacks, and more attentive to the moments where you reveal your vulnerability. This isn't admiration anymore, it's emotional alignment. She's already tethered her heart to your path, even if she hasn't said it aloud. You'll also see it in how she handles disagreements or misunderstandings with you. A woman who isn't invested walks away from friction easily. She doesn't bother to repair what she doesn't value, but when she cares, even tension feels meaningful to her. She doesn't want the connection disrupted. She fears losing the emotional closeness she's built with you, so she becomes more thoughtful, more patient, more willing to understand your side. She tries to interpret your intentions instead of reacting impulsively. She searches for resolution because distance from you suddenly feels uncomfortable. This emotional effort is not accidental. It is the mind's instinctive response to protect something that has grown precious. Conflict no longer feels like a reason to walk away. It feels like a reason to hold on tighter. And perhaps the most powerful shift of all is the way she becomes emotionally exposed, even in silence. You don't need her to speak for you to understand her state. You feel it in the pauses between sentences, the softness in her eyes when she listens, the subtle hesitation when she says goodbye. She carries an unspoken tenderness, a vulnerability she isn't ready to admit, but can't fully hide. This is when you realize she's already surrendered more of her heart than she intended. Not because you convinced her, not because you chased her, but because something in you reached a part of her she usually keeps locked away. Women don't fall in an instant. They unravel gradually, quietly, and often unknowingly, and when her silence feels more revealing than her words ever did, you already have her in a way she hasn't even acknowledged to herself. There comes a point where her emotional consistency with you begins to outweigh her conscious intentions. Even on days when she tries to hold back, tries to appear neutral, tries to maintain a distance she believes is rational, her behavior betrays her. She responds to you quicker than she planned. She pays more attention than she admits. She remembers small details you mentioned weeks ago. She gets affected by things you say that shouldn't matter this much to someone who's not that invested, and this contradiction becomes the clearest window into her heart. She's torn between protecting herself and moving toward you, and the pull toward you is winning. Emotional attachment rarely looks like a dramatic confession. It looks like consistency. She can't explain, concern she didn't intend to feel, and a level of effort she can't seem to stop giving. You'll notice her internal conflict when she tries to downplay her interest, but can't fully detach. She may act casual, even indifferent at times, but the moment you shift your tone or energy, the mask slips. Her eyes change, her attention sharpens, she becomes hyper-aware of the tiniest signals from you, a slight pause, a distant expression, a shorter message than usual. None of this happens in relationships where she doesn't care. This sensitivity only appears when her heart has already crossed the line. Her mind hasn't acknowledged yet. She's wrestling with herself, trying to understand why you affect her so strongly, why she can't treat you like she treats other men. And while she's busy analyzing every detail, she doesn't realize she's revealing the truth. You've become emotionally significant to her. As her attachment deepens, her world subtly begins to organize itself around the idea of you. Not in a dramatic, obsessive way, but in a quiet, instinctive one. She changes how she presents herself because she knows she'll see you. She becomes more thoughtful with her words because she values how you receive them. She takes more care, deciding how she wants you to perceive her, not out of insecurity, but out of a desire to be seen in the best light by someone who matters. Even the way she prepares her day shifts. She thinks ahead about moments where she might cross paths with you, or times she might hear from you, or ways she can deepen the connection without appearing eager. And she does all of this without labeling it as effort, because to her, it doesn't feel like effort, it feels natural. You'll also notice how she starts treating your emotional state like a shared experience, rather than something that belongs only to you. If you're stressed, she feels a pressure to ease it. If you're excited, she absorbs that excitement like it belongs to her too. If you're distant, her emotions get unsettled. Even if she tries to hide it, she begins responding to your internal world as though it impacts her own. This kind of emotional synchrony doesn't happen with someone she views as temporary or replaceable. It happens only when her heart has already linked itself to yours. She isn't doing this intentionally. Women don't choose emotional attunement. It happens when attachment has already taken hold. And the quiet truth behind this shift is simple. Your feelings matter to her because you matter to her. But perhaps the most revealing transformation shows up in the moments she withdraws slightly, not because she's losing interest, but because she's overwhelmed by how much she feels. The closer she gets to you emotionally, the more she begins to fear that her vulnerability is showing. That fear makes her step back for a moment, not to detach, but to regain control of feelings that are growing too quickly. She'll act a little colder, a little slower to respond, a little less expressive, but beneath that surface, she's more affected than ever. She's trying to make sense of why her emotions have become so tied to yours, why the connection feels powerful enough to unsettle her. This temporary retreat is not distance, it's emotional processing. It means you've reached a place inside her that she wasn't prepared for, a place that now feels impossible to close off. Sooner or later, you'll sense a shift in how she talks about her past. Not because she suddenly wants to confess everything, but because she feels safe enough to let you see the parts of her she normally hides. A woman only reveals her scars when she believes the person listening won't turn them into weapons. She'll bring up old disappointments, heartbreaks, or mistakes, not to gain sympathy, but to show you the landscape she was shaped in. And she watches closely, not for judgment, but for understanding. When she realizes you see her past without losing respect for her present, something deep inside her settles. That is the moment when emotional walls inside her collapse quietly, almost imperceptibly, until she's standing in front of you more exposed than she ever planned to be. She didn't choose to open up. The connection with you opened her without asking permission. There also comes a moment when she stops trying to control how you see her. In the beginning, she may have been careful about her image, her wording, her expressions, her energy. But the more her feelings grow, the more those filters fall away. She laughs without holding back. She disagrees without fear. She shows sides of her personality. She usually hides her silliness, her intensity, her stubbornness, her softness. She lets you see the natural version of her, the one she usually keeps protected. And this release is not accidental, it's instinctive. When a woman feels emotionally grounded with a man, she stops performing and starts existing. That shift from performance to presence is one of the strongest, most revealing indicators of emotional attachment, and she never recognizes it until later, when she realizes she's been fully herself with you for weeks without even trying. Over time, she begins to anticipate you emotionally, not predict. Anticipate. She intuitively knows when you're tired, even if you say you're fine. She senses when something is bothering you before you articulate it. She picks up on your moods with unsettling accuracy. This isn't magic, it's emotional investment. Her attention has tuned itself to the subtle signals you give off, the ones no one else notices. You've become significant enough that her subconscious is always reading you, processing you, staying connected even when she's silent. This level of emotional awareness only happens when feelings are no longer something she's building, but something she's protecting. And the moment a woman begins protecting a connection, even privately, even quietly, she has already surrendered more than she intended. There is also a quiet loyalty that starts forming, long before any commitment is discussed. She distances herself from situations that feel disrespectful to what she's building with you. She becomes more selective about the men she entertains, the conversations she entertains, the environments she entertains. She won't admit she's doing it, often because she doesn't realize it herself, but emotionally, she's already aligning her world with yours. She doesn't want anything to disrupt the connection or undermine it. And this instinctive self-regulation is one of the deepest forms of emotional attachment. A woman does not rearrange her boundaries for a man she can walk away from. She only does it for the man she hopes won't walk away from her. And finally, the clearest truth reveals itself in the way she begins imagining a version of herself that fits beside you. Not a fantasy of marriage or future promises. Those come much later, if at all. What she imagines now is simpler, subtler, but far more significant. She envisions how she would need to grow to keep up with you. She reflects on her behavior, her emotional patterns, her habits, not because you asked her to, but because something in her wants to be better, in ways you inspire. You become a quiet motivator inside her mind, a presence that pushes her toward maturity, patience, and self-awareness. A woman only evolves in response to a man when she feels something powerful enough to reshape her emotional world. And when she begins adjusting her future self to match the man she sees in front of her, she is already yours in a way she hasn't fully understood yet. As her feelings deepen, she starts to sense a kind of emotional gravity when she's around you, a pull she can't explain, a comfort she didn't expect, a familiarity that feels like déjà vu. She may try to rationalize it, convincing herself that she's just enjoying your company or that you're simply easy to talk to, but deep down she feels the shift. Her heart responds before her mind catches up. She finds herself leaning slightly closer when you speak, noticing the smallest changes in your expression, holding onto your words longer than she should. It's not that she's trying to be romantic, it's that your presence affects her nervous system in a way that calms her and excites her at the same time. That duality, peace mixed with anticipation, is something women only feel for men who have already made their way past the outer layers of their emotional defenses. She also becomes more intentional with her silence around you. Most people fill silence with distractions, jokes, or small talk, but a woman who feels something real doesn't rush to escape the quiet moments. She settles into them. She allows space to exist between your words, because being near you feels meaningful enough without constant conversation. She notices how you breathe when you're thinking, how your eyes shift when you search for the right sentence, how your energy settles when you're not performing for anyone. Silence stops feeling like a gap to fill and becomes a place to rest. And this is something she can only experience with a man who has already occupied space in her emotional world. Silence becomes its own kind of intimacy, and intimacy for her becomes its own kind of confession. Over time, she begins responding to your emotional distance, not with resentment, but with deep reflection. If you pull back slightly, she doesn't lash out or chase impulsively. Instead, she turns inward, asking herself why your absence feels heavier than she expected. She replays moments between you, wondering if she missed something, wondering why she suddenly cares about your attention so much. She doesn't feel this way with men she isn't invested in, With them, distance is a relief, not a disruption. But your distance unsettles her. It forces her to confront feelings she hasn't admitted yet. And the more she tries to understand why she's so affected, the more she realizes that the emotional thread connecting her to you has grown stronger than she realized. Your silence reveals her attachment more clearly than your presence ever could. She also begins to protect the connection internally in ways she doesn't talk about. She becomes more careful with her choices, more aware of how her actions might reflect on what the two of you are building. She avoids situations that feel messy or disrespectful. She thinks twice before entertaining attention from men she previously would have responded to without hesitation. She becomes more private about her personal life, not because you demanded it, but because she feels a quiet loyalty forming inside her. She treats the connection with you like something fragile and worth preserving, even though she hasn't openly acknowledged it to you or even to herself. This internal loyalty is something a woman can't fake. It arises only when she feels emotionally invested enough to protect what she hopes might grow, and somewhere in the middle of all of this, she begins to soften in ways she doesn't even recognize. The walls she built from past disappointments, the defenses she learned from heartbreak, the caution she practiced with every man before you, they begin to erode, not because she chose to lower them, but because being around you doesn't trigger them. She stops expecting betrayal. She stops waiting for the moment you'll disappoint her. She stops preparing exit routes in her mind. Instead, she finds herself hoping the connection continues, wondering where it might lead, imagining what it would feel like to let you in completely. This softening is not weakness, it's the beginning of trust. Real trust, the kind women rarely give, and when they do, it's only to the man whose presence feels like a home she didn't realize she was searching for. As emotions deepen, you'll notice a subtle shift in how she responds to your victories, your progress, and even your smallest wins. In the beginning, she might have congratulated you politely, the way people do when they're still forming impressions. But now her reactions carry weight, genuine pride, excitement, and the warmth that comes from feeling connected to your journey. She celebrates you as if your growth somehow enhances her own world. She feels elevated when you succeed, and she feels involved even when she shouldn't. That emotional alignment doesn't happen casually. It happens when you've become important enough for her to evaluate her life through the atmosphere you create. She's no longer outside your story. She's standing at the edge of it, hoping you'll let her step in fully. Her emotional language begins to change too, not in the words she chooses, but in the way she says them. There's a softness she doesn't use with just anyone, a tone that reveals she's speaking from a deeper place than curiosity or interest. She addresses you with a warmth that carries an unspoken, "I feel safe with you." Even her teasing becomes more intimate, more personalized, more reflective of the connection forming beneath the surface. You'll notice the slight hesitation before she says goodbye, the lingering pause after she finishes speaking, the way her voice dips when conversations get personal. These shifts are subtle but powerful. They reveal that she has emotionally stepped closer without consciously realizing she has. Her voice is doing something her heart hasn't yet admitted out loud. Another transformation appears in how she interprets your presence when you're together. She doesn't see you as just a man anymore. She sees you as a source of stability in a world that often feels chaotic. She may not articulate this, but you'll feel it in the way she unconsciously gravitates toward you, physically and emotionally. The room feels different to her when you're in it. She feels more centered, more grounded, more connected. Even her breathing changes. That sense of equilibrium is rare for women because their emotions are often shaped by uncertainty, fear, and imagined outcomes. But with you, she isn't projecting fantasies or future fears. She's simply present, and presence is the purest version of affection a woman has. When her nervous system regulates itself around you, attachment is no longer forming, it's already formed. She also begins to show signs of emotional transparency she normally hides from the world. The little things that reveal how deeply she's feeling. A quick glance when she's unsure. A quiet smile when you understand her without her explaining. The way she softens when you recognize her effort. She becomes emotionally readable to you in a way she isn't to others. Even her guarded emotions begin to slip through cracks she didn't know existed. A woman will only let a man read her when she trusts that he won't use her vulnerability against her. Whether she realizes it or not, she's allowing you to see the most unpolished parts of her, not because she wants to be exposed, but because she finally feels seen. And being seen for a woman is one of the deepest forms of connection she can experience. And eventually, without meaning to, she begins to hope, not for a commitment, not for a title, not for a promise, but for continuity. She begins to hope the connection doesn't fade, hope the moments don't end, hope you continue showing up in her world the way you do now. She imagines what it would feel like to be with you without pretending she isn't imagining it. She catches herself smiling at the thought of you. She feels a small ache when she hasn't heard from you in a while, not out of insecurity, but because your presence has become a part of her emotional rhythm. That hope is her heart speaking louder than her logic. And once a woman starts to hope for something with you, genuinely, quietly, instinctively, you've already secured a space in her life that no one else can occupy. As her emotions deepen, you'll notice how she begins to guard the connection not from you, but from the world. She stops discussing her dating life with friends the way she used to. She becomes more private about the conversations you share. She feels protective of the energy between you, as if exposing it too early might dilute it, or worse, let others interfere with something she's not ready to label but already values. This quiet protectiveness is one of the strongest indicators of emotional commitment, the kind that forms long before words or actions catch up. She's not hiding you, she's preserving the atmosphere that allows her feelings to grow. Women don't guard what they don't care about. If she's shielding the connection from unnecessary eyes, it means she feels something fragile and precious forming, something she hopes will strengthen if she nurtures it in silence. She also begins to deepen her curiosity about who you are beneath the surface. It's no longer about the simple questions, your hobbies, your routines, your preferences. Now she wants to understand your emotional architecture. She listens for the meaning behind your pauses, the history behind your beliefs, the softness behind your strength. She becomes more attentive to the small contradictions that make you human, the confidence paired with doubt, the stoicism paired with hidden tenderness. These layers fascinate her because she's emotionally invested enough to want the full picture, not just the highlight reel. You become more than a man she likes, you become a world she wants to explore, and exploration is always an emotional impulse, never a logical one. You'll see her shift, in another subtle but powerful way. She begins to hold herself to a higher standard around you, not in a performative sense, not to impress you, but because being connected to you awakens a part of her that wants to grow. She becomes more reflective about her behavior, more aware of her patterns, more thoughtful about her reactions. She doesn't want to bring chaos into something that feels meaningful. She doesn't want to sabotage something that feels promising. She starts catching herself before she falls into old habits. She starts treating you with consideration. She doesn't give casually. Women don't self-correct for men. They don't see a future in. When she refines herself around you without you asking, it means you've already earned a place in the version of herself she hopes to become. Her emotional boundaries begin to soften as well, not because she's abandoning them, but because she feels safe enough to let them breathe. She allows herself to be vulnerable in front of you in ways that would terrify her with anyone else. She admits when she's scared, when she's unsure, when she feels overwhelmed. She lets her emotional truth surface without the usual hesitation. And the remarkable thing is that she doesn't feel embarrassed afterward. She feels relieved. That relief comes from knowing she didn't need to hide, didn't need to pretend, didn't need to perform. She trusted you enough to be real. And authenticity, for a woman, is one of the greatest acts of emotional devotion. She won't show you the unfiltered version of herself unless she's already attached in a way she can't easily undo. But perhaps the most powerful internal shift reveals itself when she begins to fear losing you more than she fears being vulnerable with you. That's the moment her emotions outgrow her caution. She stops evaluating whether she should open up and starts worrying what it would mean if she didn't. Your presence has become meaningful enough that the possibility of losing the connection feels heavier than the risk of being hurt. And that fear, the fear of absence, is what finally pushes her into emotional honesty. Not because you demanded it, but because she can no longer deny the impact you have on her. Her heart has already chosen, even if her mind is still catching up. By the time she reaches this stage, she's not wondering whether she likes you anymore. She's wondering how she would handle it if you ever walked away.